What if there was a way forward in life that was filled with ease, empowerment, and a sense of direction? I'm Debbie Rosenfeld, personal empowerment mentor and guide, and you're listening to Elevated Embodiment, a way to calm the chaos in life by taking radical accountability for where you are. I am feeling excited, I'm feeling grounded, and I'm feeling on purpose. I have the great pleasure to spend some time today with a leader, colleague, a friend, a really cool individual. Welcome, Eric Bigger.
Thank you, Debbie. Thank you for having me.
Today, what we're going to be talking about is we're just going to have a conversation that's going to flow. And I invited Eric just because we have been having some really deep conversations here and there in bits and pieces. But man, there is a connection that we cannot mistake. It's
right. It's
pretty
divine.
cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, divine. Eric shared with me a bit ago a little bit about his dad and what was it, Eric, about your dad? He was sick or?
Yeah, so last year, 2023, my dad was in and out of the hospital. He had like some heart problems and some kidney problems. I can't recall exactly what it was, but I know he was getting like incisions like near his heart. He was having trouble breathing. And I think for me, being his son, it was the first time in my life to really see my dad vulnerable like that.
Yeah.
So psychologically, I had to kind of like really think about it and really like, is this really happening? This like, it felt like I was in a movie.
Mm.
And he was in and out of the hospital. I was traveling, abroad to France, and before I went, he was back in the hospital. When I was there, he got out of the hospital, then he went back. So it was like, I'm like, how can I be living my dreams? And I'm in a different country, going to speak and connect with people, but yet my dad. So I think just that phase and that moment, it shifted my paradigm to say, Eric, like, what is life really about? Like, what do you really want?
Yeah.
God forbid if something were to happen to my dad. It's like the stuff I do, like, does it really matter as much? Are you giving it that much power? Like, what does it really mean? What are you really doing and why? What is your purpose? Why are you here? And I've always had those intentions with myself. But to see my dad in such a vulnerable space and for my dad to tell me, son, I need your energy. Come home. I'm like, whoa. I could cry thinking about it now because it was so like, huh? Okay. I got on a plane and I went home. And so that moment really like took me up because I understood what he was saying, but I think it allowed me to see myself the way many people see me without telling me those exact words. But they come from your dad was different because this is your dad. This is not someone who don't know you, who didn't watch you grow up, don't know your backstory, don't know your pain, don't know your trauma, or someone like my dad is, I'm somewhat like him. We have some of the same traits. And it just opened me up to a whole new reality of what life really is, opposed to the perspective I thought it was. Because I think living in LA, being super positive, motivated, driven, and really accomplishing my dreams, there's a side of you, not that you forget about it, because LA is such Hollywood, and I really mean that the way I said it, that we try so much to appear and be, and we try to avoid the real, and until we come out fake.
Yeah.
And you forget that it's real life happening while you're in this fake energy or this vibration because you think you should, and people are in and out of the hospital. People are passing away. People are in fear. There's a lot going on outside of this stratosphere of Hollywood, and it really grounded me in a different way. And most times when I go back home, that's what I need. It's the realness of Baltimore City.
Yeah. Was that the first time?
To bring me back to,
Was that the first time you ever heard that from your dad?
Yeah. Like my dad was crying at that point. I'm like, is this happening? Like, but it wasn't like a big cry. It was like he was even struggling with his cry, And I'm like, what's going on? Like, what's happening? Like, is he crying? Like, I was trying to I don't know if you ever seen like Mike Tyson when he like cries or cried. Like it's not like fluid. It's more like it's maybe because he held so much in.
Yeah, like a tension type.
Yeah, there it is. It was tension. And it was like I need to see you, and it was just like whoa, okay, you got it. I went home that day. Never on a red eye that night. You know, was in town the next day to see him, and he was out of the hospital the next day. I gave him his miracle season
Yeah.
hat to put on while he was in the hospital. I gave him some crystals. I prayed with him. I prayed over him. And then I realized in that moment, Eric, you don't have to speak as much when you're around people. You can just be present, and that's enough.
Yes. Exactly.
I was like, oh, wow, okay. All right. This is what me being present and why people want to be in your energy. That grace we talk about, right?
Yes.
You don't always have to talk. Like, okay, I get it now. All right. Mm-hmm.
Well, what I'm hearing, and this is what we really wanted to talk about, as I mentioned, was an honoring.
Mm-hmm.
So honoring what was, but also surrendering to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But honoring what you heard and trusting your intuition and what your dad was saying, but honoring your dad as well.
Yeah.
So there was like a give and receive, a feeling and an energy of give and receive. But then there was a surrendering of, oh my gosh, this is something different. This is something I've never experienced before. How do I do this? What do I do? How do I? But you stayed present in your peace, in your grace.
And the grace, yeah. And I think my dad showed me my power. It was like, damn, yeah, like my dad showed me my power. How did he do that when he was suffering? Because I gave him grace, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was like, you know, they say, I guess in the Bible or Christianity, there's a thing, the way to the Father is through the Son.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
So it is interesting how things happen and take course and precedent. But yeah, it was such a moment that I will never, ever forget. I have such a photogenic memory. I can literally see it in my mind's eye right now. Like I know that moment. I know what it felt like.
Yeah.
And it forced me to really, really trust my spiritual prowess, like what I know. You know, because sometimes you kind of like teeter-totter, like, yeah, I did this prayer thing, but that when it was needed, and I'm like, I can't just say words for the sake of, yeah, they're great and they're beautiful and we want to manifest. However, this is different because of the level of intensity that's surrounding. Like, you know, he's asking me to pray. I need that prayer, son. Let's go. It's like, oh, okay, Dad. And me trusting it, right? Trusting that.
Yeah, that's right. Well, and has he ever asked you to pray for him before?
No, but me and my dad, we have a very like relationship where he's like my best friend.
Yeah.
We have our days when we're like hot and cold, but we pray together a lot.
That's awesome.
But I think in this moment, it was more of, I can't be dad right now. I'm not strong.
Yeah.
The way I need to be, like, I need your strength. So come on with it. Pour down on me and in me. I need it, son. It's miracle season, right? It was more like, I'm passing you the torch. You have my last name. You're my junior.
Yeah.
And I should tell my dad, you know, most of my life growing up, I was like, Dad, I don't need money. I don't need any of that from you. I just need wisdom.
Yes.
Give me wisdom. That's all I want. The money, I'll figure that out. I don't care about that. I just want the love and the wisdom. Everything else I'm going to get and I'm going to manifest. And so I was like, just give me wisdom. So he'll send me scriptures. He'll send me songs. It'll be anything. I know how to pick things apart to kind of embody what he's really saying or what he wants me to add to my core essence of who I am.
Yeah.
Instead of just having the knowledge but can't really embody it. So, yeah.
Right, exactly. Because the wisdom is for the purpose for us to embody and to process, to allow, to soak in to our being at a cellular level, which brings us more wisdom.
Yeah. Yeah, that changed my spiritual life. Yeah, that moment, that changed my spiritual life, like, honestly.
Well, and I want to speak to something that the word that you used when your dad said, I need you to be strong. It felt like he was saying that he wasn't strong, yet he was, but he needed something more that you could provide
Right.
and that he
And
sees
he
that in
didn't say
you.
it. Right. He didn't exactly say the word, he need me to be
Okay.
strong. He was just like, his
Yep.
energy was kind of like,
Yeah.
it's like hit me on the chest, like,
Yeah.
I need whatever that you have, and you have it. I'm gonna open up that portal for you, but let it out.
Yeah.
You know, it was more like an unconscious thing. He hit me with a hit. Like, come on, you got it in there. I need it. but I kind of picked up on it. Like, okay, I got you.
You got it. Yeah.
Yeah, and then at the time, I was experiencing my spiritual awakening. But that's the thing. I think I was so connected, and I'm so connected to my dad. I think I was also going through my dark night of the soul and spiritual awakening because some of my ego was dying and falling. But I feel like I was feeling something my dad was going through as well.
Yeah.
You know, at the same time, because it was such a paradoxical, complex, just you know, it was just like, how did this happen? And it's like, all right, figure it out. Right? But I feel like it was all interconnected because I'm so deeply invested into the people I love and care about that I can feel them when I'm not with them, no matter how
Yes.
far they are.
Yes.
And certain things just come to me and I can take on that energy and hold space. But that was like a little mini movie for me at that time of understanding, learning, and experiencing and embodying those moments.
Was that time also, though, a little scary for you?
Oh, yes. Yeah, let me give you the story so people get some more context.
Okay. Thank you.
By the way, my mom and my dad has been separated since I've been a kid. So my mom was always a single mom. My dad was there. You know, he did the best he could for me and my sister. However, you know, boys, men, we always honor a relationship with our dad, like good or bad, or at least we want to have one if we don't have one. So I get a call. It's Sunday morning. It's probably 7 a.m. my time. I'm in the gym, 10 a.m. East Coast. My mom say, "Call your sister. She's taking your dad to the hospital." And my sister was telling mom, like, no, don't tell Eric. Don't tell Eric. Like, it's fine. Like, she's like, no, I'm going to tell him. So, boom, I called my sister. I said, Brittany, her name is Brittany. We're a day and a year apart. How interesting is that? And I came a month early. But anyway, so I'm talking. I say, Brittany, where's dad? He's in the car. And I'm like, Dad, he can barely breathe. Like, like, I'm like, my dad is gasping for air. Like, he could barely breathe. I'm like, whoa, this is nothing to take lightly. This is like, she's rushing him to the hospital.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm like in a real mini movie. So I'm like, oh, something just snapped. Like, boom, I got straight into like prayer mode. Like I had to go to the divine and like, you know, my ancestors, my angels, spirit guides. I just went like, and I just knew whatever I put in that prayer, I knew it was going to help. I was like, no, Dad, you're going to be fine. A miracle's going to take place. She rushed him to the hospital. He got to the ER. Then, you know, I got off the phone, called back. She's like, yeah, I don't know. It's scary. Like they're pressing on Dad's chest. So
Yeah.
mind you, I'm still in LA. They're in Baltimore. So I'm taking all this in, and I'm like, what's going on? So there's a shock. Like this is out of the sky.
Yeah.
Like my dad was fine. Like he's, you know, like so, you know, eventually, you know, he got better and he's fine for the incision in his heart. And so that was the first. You know, that was the first.
Wow.
And then, you know, I got on the red eye that night and I came home. And then a few days there, I left. He was fine. I think that weekend, I got in town on Monday morning. I think at like, was it 11? Maybe 11 or 8, whatever time it was. And I left like a Wednesday or Thursday, I believe. And I went back home.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, you give a few days, maybe a week, he went back to the hospital. So it was just this, what? So now, like, I can't just get back on a plane.
Right.
So that's a little the backstory of, like, how intense it was for me in this moment. And mind you, right before that, I was traveling to go to France, south of France, for the Cannes Lion. I think I left June 17th. So this was kind of going into like the first weekend of June that all this took place.
Mm-hmm.
So this is all happening. So I'm like, damn, I'm going to cancel one of the biggest trips of my life where I get to speak. Like, what is the universe trying to tell me? Should I not go?
Yeah.
What if something happens to my dad? Like, so
Yes.
imagine like you got to get on a flight to go overseas that's paid for, booked and everything. You know, company is flying you in, but yet you don't really know the state of your dad's health.
Right.
But you know you got to go somewhere and show up and be on and be professional and speak with all this, and no one really knows.
The paradox of
You know?
life, right?
Yeah.
The push-pull. Yeah.
Boy, so here we are. But that was very stressful, very tough, very overwhelming. And you know, but there I did well. I made the newspaper in France and had a great time about mental health and depression and DEID and the brand partnership space. So it was great. It was a contrast, and then I also had some type of polarity that was opposite. That was like, oh, that feels good.
How do I deal with it? Yes.
Yeah. So, and no one would know unless I told them. So
Right.
it's but prayer was like the only thing that I know and knew at those moments that could get me where I needed to be, even if it was challenging. And in mind you being 9, 10 hours ahead, I'm calling my dad before I even go speaking, praying with him. Like, Dad, you good? You all right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good, son. Just do your thing. And then, it's like,
You were staying
what a moment.
connected through the whole thing,
Yeah,
and he was with you when you were in
yeah,
France,
right.
yet you were still with him.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it was a moment that, like I said, I'll never forget.
So, and that feeling, I think you described it in the beginning, was that there was this feeling of surrealness. Is this really happening?
Yeah, I questioned it. Like, this can't be my life. Is this real life? This is real life.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, your dad could leave this earth. How would you respond? Because I feel like living in La La Land, LA, you get this successful, as I did publicly, and you hear, you're just on this high vibration. And granted, I didn't come from the best upbringing where everything was sophisticated and nice, and it was trauma, it was pain. So that pain was how I climbed the ladder to get where I'm at today. But it was a lot of hurt, a lot of emotional, trauma and baggage. However, it was one of those things that make me like appreciate what I do have, who I am, and what I had to become. And then in that moment, I said, now I see why people come to me for motivation. Now I see why people come to me for inspiration and whatever I say, because I get it. But when you can't see what you have in you, you just keep putting things in you. You understand the impact it's having on someone. But that moment with my dad, he showed me my real power.
Yeah.
It was just like, there it is. It was a wake
Well,
up.
and it also comes to choice, right? You created, you made the choice. This is what I want to do. And that's what just experiencing and navigating through the really tough stuff is about, making choice. And that's inside of you. It's not outside of you. It's all internal.
Mm-hmm.
And throughout your life, as you have created and chosen the life that you choose, it's turned around where you're supporting your dad.
Right?
So how's your dad doing now?
He's way better. He's way better. He's he's in a way better space. I just think, when you get older and things change or things slow up. But I told my dad, I said, Dad, I just think you're shedding a lot, man. I just think you're shedding. I think my dad has never really experienced grief. Like he's been through a lot in his lifetime. And I told him, I said, Dad, I don't think you ever allowed yourself to feel or heal.
Yes.
Or even grieve. Like my grandfather passed away in 2020, which was his dad at 95 years old. He was a war vet. He was a business owner. He was a firefighter, and I'm not too fond of what their relationship was. I don't think it was the best, but I know when he passed, of course, if your dad passed, but I feel like he still is probably in that phase of grieving. I don't know what phase, but I don't think he allowed himself to, like I was telling you with the cry, it was some hesitation. So, and where I'm from, you don't really supposed to show your emotions or be vulnerable because this is such a tough environment in Baltimore, to be honest. It's not somewhere where you can just let go and be weak and be free because you got to always be on guard or you got to have your guards up. And I just think God was like, listen, Mr. Bigger, Eric Bigger Sr., I think you got to let that guard down. I got you, just let it go so you can grow.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I want to make a point to people listening, people who are here this episode, is that when we're in a dark space, when we're in the shadow side or shadow frequency, we have to change our paradigm and perspective towards when you're going through something that's negative or resistant, is that the perspective should be, this is good for me because I'm growing and going somewhere I really want to go, even if I don't know where I'm going, because you have to experience it. And if we don't, at some point you will.
Yes,
and so
exactly.
I think we've been living this matriarchic society of work, rat race. But all it does is keep us disconnected and distracted from ourselves. We never allow ourselves to sit in silence or
Amen.
sit and face our inner world, our demons, our shadow, whatever terminology you relate to. You got to face your through self to understand why these things are taking place in your reality. So it's never beautiful, and I think it's only hard for people to deal with the shadow side because they don't have perspective and tools to kind of understand what it is they're feeling. Because emotionally they're blocked and they lack awareness and perspective, and they try to control it with the 3D, and it doesn't work. You know, there's only so many food you can eat, alcohol you can drink, drugs you can take, numbness. Eventually, it catches up to all of us. So, yeah.
Well, and this actually is, it speaks to, we need to honor ourselves, learn to honor what it is that we're experiencing. So it's like when you describing with your dad when he was at the hospital and he said, son, I need you. He was honoring you and saying, hey, I need your help, but you were honoring yourself as well as him. And when we as humans, so my belief is we're spiritual beings here to have a human experience, and we're here to learn to, or to remember to honor the human inside of us. And it's the outside world that teaches us, no, we have to go, 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 when we're not all meant to do that. It's like we really need to stop and slow down, which you've been experiencing, which you've spoken to. Stop and slow down and take a breath and get to know ourselves so we can honor what is going on inside of ourselves. And so it's like, I'll share an example for myself. Just these last few months, I noticed I was struggling with some work that I was doing. And when I say struggle, it felt like I was resisting something or I was fighting something. I'm going, what is going on? Usually I love to do this. And it was just a struggle. And I said, okay, but why are you struggling? It's not supposed to be a struggle. If this is something you love. So I decided, oh, it just means I'm done. I'm done. But I was the point was for me to honor what I was feeling. And so that's what I'm hearing is when we learn to honor, but there's a surrendering first.
Yes, you have to surrender before you honor. And that's the hardest thing because you fight it. You fight it. You fight it. And I think most humans fight in life is fear of being not in control and fear of losing something that's not really theirs. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because we get so attached to the things we accumulate, but how much value do they really have if you don't have what you need, right?
Yeah.
Like how much value is Instagram followers or fame or money if I don't feel like myself, or I can't have a real conversation like this that can change my life and maybe someone else's, right?
Yeah.
But that's come from a lot of self-work that I get to that analysis to understand that most people will never get to that, or they don't want to because it's not their purpose. But I've allowed myself to surrender to things I think I want and surrender to to what is and not what I think. Like, what if you're supposed to be angry right now, Eric? Like, be angry.
Yeah.
Like, how much positivity can you share without being negative? Or what if you don't have the energy to go to the gym today? What's wrong with that?
Right.
What's wrong with not talking to someone for a few weeks? What's wrong with saying no? What if you could not go home when your dad needed you? Would you be a bad person? Maybe you would tell yourself that, but it's like really honoring where we are, who we are, and not putting judgment around. I think I've judged myself so many times for what I couldn't do or my lack of, and it's like it caused me more stress in my body when I didn't need to do that. I could just honor my full, complete self.
Oh, so beautiful. So can you give another example? So, you shared about with your dad and when you learned that he was going to the hospital and stuff, that was an example of having to let go in the moment because it was happening. Can you share another time that you recognized about how you just needed to let go of something, recognizing that you don't have control?
Great question. When I had to let go of something, recognize that I don't have control. That's a great question. Hey, what the spirit want me to speak on in this moment? Well, I took a trip to Tahiti to 2021, and I always realize this when you fly. Like, it's interesting that what I do in my life I've lived so much of my life trying to control my life and my outcomes that when I get on planes, I love it, right? Because I'm not in control. I have to really just put my AirPods in and put my hoodie on if I have one and just bundle up, listen to a podcast of music and go to sleep. And so when we got to Tahiti, we went to the Brando Resort. I was going to the Brando Resort. There's a small plane you got to get on. Now, these planes are very small, right? Very small. And so it's scary, right? And so, of course, I got on the plane, but I just had to trust, and of course, I would have been good, but it was shaky, right? Like, it was on like a 15-minute flight over the water to the island, but it was shaky. The plane was shaky. It's probably like 7 of us or 6. So that's one that I can think of right off. And I think the next one, the general one about that I know from histories of patterns is that when I'm not in control and when I am surrendering and letting go, the best things in my life happen.
Yeah.
You know, like the biggest opportunities, the biggest things come into my frequency when I'm not thinking about what I need to do, or I'm not trying to control the thing I think I should in a way that benefits me. And then when I don't think and I let go of control, it's like the universe gives me more control. Like, hey, buddy, you want to do this? This is something right up your alley. This is in alignment. Or do you want to keep trying to control the thing you think you're really in control of?
Yeah.
You really think you got power over here, but
Right.
I could take that from you, but I'm really trying to give you this. So thank you for trusting me. And so it's oxymoron, because you got to know that it's a choice. What choice did you make? Even when I was on my first TV show in 2017, I said yes to something I had no control over.
Yeah.
I didn't have no control over the edit. I didn't have no control on how long I would be on TV. I had no control on how I would end up. I had no control, and I just said yes, and my life changed for the better because I trusted my decision in that moment.
That's right. Well, and that's key as well. You trusted your decision because you have developed yourself to listen to your intuition, to your divine spirit. So internally, it's not coming from the outside, it's coming from the inside. This is what I'm going to do. And that helps us grow.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful space to be in because now I know more than ever. And I think we talked about this a few weeks ago. And it's like you said something about my human design chart. You're saying something like the landowner or something where like you're here to lead people.
Yes.
And you got to trust what you know. And it's like you didn't say it like this, but it came off to me as, yeah, you can read more books, but you're actually the books that people are trying to read.
Exactly.
So just
you're
go
a
ahead
teacher.
and express your chapters that you're in or you've been in. And you're going to grow even more because you're given what you know and what you've been through to help someone else climb the ladder. So I think now I can fully embrace what I know is true in my internal being without trying to find what's the thing in the back of a book, reference points. I forgot the terminology. When someone takes a quote from somewhere and say, oh, I found it on this page from this book. I don't need that anymore. I don't need that confirmation. I am the confirmation, right?
That's right.
I'm the confirmation. Like, I don't need confirmation. I'm the confirmation. I don't need validation outside myself to know what I know. No more. Like, if I know I'm supposed to be on a podcast, that's what I know. I'm not questioning, and this is interesting because, and I want to share this because I want to be really raw and vulnerable with the audience. So, my dad and I, we have a great relationship, but my dad doesn't like when I speak on him in such a way if he don't think it benefits him or if he feels like it's bad. And I'm like, Dad, it's not bad. It's just you're looking at it that way. I was like, any experience or contrast we could have is our opportunity to learn and grow. But this is my real life. This is my story. I'm not shunning it. I'm not putting it down. And it just really makes it's not even about a better story. It's for people to connect more to what I'm really saying opposed to listen to this, right?
Right.
And the old paradigm would always hold space, would dim my light, will always do what people wanted to do that benefit them. And I would barely do anything that benefited me because I always had this notion, I'm going to be good, I'm going to be fine. But what if you don't want to pick that person up from the airport?
Right.
What if you really felt this way in that moment when that didn't happen? What if you can't you just want to sleep in another hour. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with honoring your true self? And a lot of that came from I was afraid to disappoint people.
Yeah.
I wanted to uphold this people pleasing paradigm, and I wanted love and attention because the lack of it, not getting it when I was young, I felt like I needed it for everybody outside myself, knowing like I'm the only one that can give myself the right attention and validation. And then I also want to talk about the word loneliness, right? Because people say they lonely, it's lonely at the top. And I've discovered something these past few weeks that, Spirit was talking to me. He's like, you're never lonely. You got me, you got God. Like, so my whole paradigm is just like, I'm never alone. But I used to feel like, oh man, there's no one spiritually connected or, like I am, understand me. I was so addicted to the paradigm that I'm misunderstood. We kind of fall in love with our story. I'm misunderstood. I'm different. It's like, yeah, but it doesn't have to be like something bad that you lean on for some type of validation or affection. It's like, so now I know, like, I'm never alone. I'm happy as I am, and it's okay. Right?
Well, yeah. And you're speaking to, though, the old you is living the world's way.
Yeah, there we go. There we go, Debbie. There we go. See how
Living the world's way. And as you grow and develop, you're learning it's all inside of you, and it's honoring you and honoring the divine in you. And again, that takes time, it takes practice, it takes persistence, it takes fortitude to say, this is what I want. I want for me, because when you grow, the outside world grows.
There we go. There it is. And I was so focused on growing the outside world, giving it so much of my time, energy, and attention. And my mother told me this years ago. I said, yeah, Mom, she's like, I'm so proud of you, son. I said, don't be proud of me. She's like, why? I said, because I said, your facial expression changed, but your lifestyle hasn't changed. I haven't done enough, right? This me being hard on myself. And she said, listen, you have done way more than you think. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean you're not impacting us.
Amen.
She said, I need you to know, don't worry about us. We're fine. Trust me. You just continue to be who you are.
Yes.
And unconsciously, we will grow with you.
Yes.
But you're not going to always need to see people growing if it's not, people are growing. You're not going to see it the way you want to see it. Just trust and know that. So I was like, okay.
Absolutely, because that's one thing that we need to be aware of. Mm-hmm. The impact that we have, we won't always see it. Mm-hmm. And a few years later, someone's going to come into your life and going to say, da 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 da. This is something that you said impacted me. And you're going to say, internally, you'll say, huh?
Yeah.
I don't remember that, but they do.
Yeah, that's crazy. Someone texted me a Facebook message 4 days ago, guy by the name of Adam, and this was probably, I'm thinking even 2016, had to be 16 or 15, either or. He was calling upon me to help his son. Right? Now, hear me out. And this is a sensitive topic for some people. And I want to make sure my terminology and my word choice is right? So his son was having suicidal thoughts. And he called upon me to get his son into treatment. And at that time in my life, maybe I was 26, 27, I don't remember what age I was, but I know it was around that age. He trusted me, right, to get his son. And this is the dad.
Yes.
I'm younger than the dad, right?
Yeah.
And he sent me a message this week. He said, Eric, remember me calling you to get my son into treatment? He said, my son is doing so great. He's traveling the world. He didn't build his Instagram account. He's happy. He's thriving. And he said, I just want to say thank you, my friend. He said, remember when I met you at the nightclub and you was the door guy, and you told me you wanted to be a motivational speaker, and you told me you wanted to be an author and you want to write a book. And he said, it's amazing how dreams come true, right? I'm proud of you. And I'm like, wow. I don't even recall telling him that.
Oh.
So it was like, all right, here we are. And it was like, whoa. Okay, and people tell me, it's like, everything you said you was going to do, you did. I'm like, really? Like, yeah. She's like, my friend Shannon, she's like, I tell people about you all the time. You just don't understand. My childhood friend, he said, bro, you have grown so much. And he said, I know you might at times feel like you hit a plateau, but you are colossal. Like, you, trust me. And I'm like, really? And so it's beautiful to know the work works, but it's also beautiful to kind of experience it through somebody else's lens. But then again, not worry about that no more moving forward, because it's just going to happen for me. If I continue to do what I'm doing, I'm not going to always see the impact, and that's okay. So
right.
it's funny that the timing of it, because that message was literally 4 days ago. I'm like, wow, they're the odds.
Well, also, isn't that faith, right? Faith
Yeah.
is believing in the unseen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When we are in alignment, when we harmonize with ourselves, with God, the divine, we are on track and everything just happens.
So beautiful. It's like the universe giving you a hug. Like the universe been hugging me
Yes.
all
Yes.
year long. But yes, my last year, I spoke briefly about that's just briefly what I went through, but it was different. But now I can appreciate this shit even more, because now I understand life with a different lens, and I have true wisdom from real life experience, not a book.
Yes. Yes.
Not a book I
Yes.
read, the book of
Yes.
my life. So
Yeah.
yes, I get it now. Experience is a great teacher.
Yeah, it is. Well, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for your heart. Thank you for your grace. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing a little bit about your life with me and elevated embodiment. And that's what this is about, is how can we elevate and embody the elevation that as we grow.
Yeah.
And you've just spoken to all of that. So thank you.
This was a 6-2 studio production. Find us at six-two.studio for all your creative sound needs.